Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show. Don't joke with me, young Master Lazarick, how would I dare to cheat you? Come on, trembled at the accusation, and rushed to appease him. Lin Li pondered silently as he watched from the side. He knew from their dealings that Come On enjoyed a relatively high status even though he was not very influential. He had monopolized the stone trade, after all, and under normal circumstances, nobody would be willing to upset him as they might cross paths in the future for all they knew. Lin Li could not think of any reason to explain why Come On had paled at the sight of this man and was fawning over him. Even the leaders of Gerosis would not be so afraid of Jirian. Confused, Lin Li quietly pulled over an employee, and asked, "Do you know who this fatty is?" Lin Li had appeared at the shop a few times in the past month, each time in the company of Come On, who fussed over his every request. Needless to say, the employees seemed to have caught on to the happenings, and thus when Lin Li approached them, they hurried to reply respectfully. "He is young Master Lazarick, the son of Castellan Anjai." Oh, Lin Li suddenly understood why Come On had trembled at the sight of the fatty. He was the Castellan's son. This was not Gerosis. Lin Li had long heard of Castellan Anjai, who was a truly powerful person. It was a drastic contrast with Castellan Isaac of Gerosis, who was at the mercy of the Emerald Tower. Anjai was akin to a king in Duland. Naturally, Lazarick did whatever he pleased since he was Anjai's son, and even men with more influence than Come On, who controlled the stone trade, would not dare refuse him. A misunderstanding? Lazarick walked out of the crowd as he glared fiercely at Come On for a minute. Finally, he gave a fake smile, saying, "Sure, a misunderstanding, you say. I'll show you a real misunderstanding today, fatty. Trash this place." His last phrase was directed at the men standing behind him. Come On paled as Lazarick finished speaking. Then, a group of fierce-looking men stomped the shop and started thrashing the things in there. The terrified employees were no match for the men, and the shop had been smashed to bits in a flash. "Why, young Master Lazarick, there must be a misunderstanding here, please hear me out." Scram. "Young Master Lazarick, I swear, this is really a misunderstanding, please hear me out." Come On's voice was laced with tears as he saw the hard work he'd put into his business about to be destroyed. "You want me to hear you out? Alright, I'll give you a chance." Only when the shop was destroyed did Lazarick wave lazily at his men to make them pause in their thrashing. Thank you, young Master Lazarick." Come On could not be bothered about his shop now as he thanked Lazarick while squeezing out a smile with all his might. "Young Master Lazarick, I swear the dagger I sold you last month was really crafted by Master Garza. I had it examined, there really is Master Garza's mark on it. *CK last month, of course I recognize Master Garza's work. I'm talking about that machete I bought a few days ago. Damn it, you've really got some guts to tell me that it was made of rainbow adamantine. I spent thousands of gold coins on it, only to find out it's fake after having it checked. You must be tired of living to fool me. A machete a few days ago?" Come On thought for a while before recalling that he had indeed sold a machete from his weapon shop a few days ago. The blacksmith who crafted the machete was in his shop at the moment too. Only, the machete was not bought by young Master Lazarick, so could there be some misunderstanding? As Come On remained confused, Lazarick started happily saying, "Don't bother, you wouldn't get it in a lifetime with that brain of yours. To be honest, I had something on that day, and sent Rolf to buy it. Who knew you would dare to fool me with a fake since I wasn't there?" "You had Rolf buy it?" Come On was shocked at that. Anjai's influence really had to be unimaginable. Rolf was the most promising young warrior of Duland. He had surpassed level 15 even before reaching the age of 30, and was seen as the next young genius in Duland to possibly reach the legendary realm after Carlo. Who would have guessed that he would be working for Anjai? Also, from what Come On could tell, he had to be pretty devoted to him to run such a small errand for Lazarick. This would make a headline in Duland. Sadly, Come On was not concerned with that. He was only concerned about how he could explain this to Lazarick to keep him calm, otherwise, he would be in trouble. But young Master Lazarik, the machete Mr. Rolf bought was indeed forged from rainbow adamantine. Come on was certain of it as he had personally bought the rainbow adamantine from an adventurer before traveling to Black Cloud's town that very night. Then, the young mage gave him the 4 magical weapons to be sold in his weapons shop. To hell with your rainbow adamantine. Old fatty, it seems you don't know regret until you've truly experienced it. I had Master Garza appraise it after I bought that machete, and even he said that it was not forged from rainbow adamantine. Ah, come on froze, for he was well aware that Master Garza was the president of Dooland's Guild of Blacksmiths and the most renowned blacksmith in the whole of Dooland. His appraisal was the final say here. Deep in his mind, however, Come on refused to believe that the young mage would lie to him. This was not because he thought the young mage was an honest man. Rather, Come on knew that a man who could create a fortune of millions in a flash had no reason to pass some other magical metal off as rainbow adamantine. Moreover, the magical attributes of the 4 pieces of magical equipment were powerful enough that they would have been sold quickly even if they were forged from refined iron, so why would he bother passing it off as rainbow adamantine? Why young Master Lazarik, Come on gulped before saying carefully, maybe. Maybe Master Garza made a mistake. Come on knew he had said something foolish as soon as those words came out. He really wanted to slap himself, how foolish of him. Master Garza was the most authoritative blacksmith of Dooland, and even Anjai trusted him deeply. If he doubted Master Garza, didn't that mean he doubted Anjai as well? Unfortunately, the words had been said, and it was too late for any regret. To hell with your nonsense. As expected, Come on's words triggered Lazarik, who had already calmed down previously, and made him furious in an instant. He took a step forward, and grabbed Come on's collar, looking as though he would devour the man. Old fatty, you must be tired of living to doubt Master Garza. Why didn't you doubt your mother for giving birth to you? Damn it, who do you think you are to doubt Master Garza? Lazarik, let him go first. I have something to ask him. Just as Come on thought this was how he was going to die, he heard a voice coming from the crowd. Master Garza, you are an important guest of the Castellan mansion, just ask him anything you wish to know. There's no need to be polite to him, this old fatty was born to be a sandbag. Lazarik finished evilly, and gave an angry kick at Come on's stomach, making him jackknife in an instant. Alright, Lazarik, let me talk to Come on. Well, alright. Lazarik let go of Come on after some thought. Come on, if I may ask, whom did you get this machete from? I bought it from an adventurer. Come on could not help glancing at Lin Li, who stood quietly amongst the crowd, with no intention to claim responsibility. Since the young mage did not want to own up, Come on dared not say anything either. This was no child's play, sure, he might be beaten up or even lose his business from angering Lazarik. But to offend the young mage could mean the immediate death of the entire Rosen Union. Weighing his options, Come on decided that he should keep his mouth shut. Really, Garza seemed to be in his 40s. With his tanned skin, he looked like a copper tower, overwhelming others with just his presence. Lin Li felt especially suffocated, for he could clearly feel a strong combat energy emitting from the middle-aged blacksmith, whose presence felt as stifling as a wall. Lin Li knew that he was definitely a true high-ranking warrior, and Macklin might only best him by a hair's breadth capability-wise. The breezy plains was indeed far more exciting than Gerosis. It seems you don't wish to say it. The middle-aged blacksmith held the rainbow adamantine machete in his hand, and casually flourished it in the air before saying, "That's all right, I'm not interested in this machete, anyway. Honestly, I wouldn't have interfered if you hadn't doubted me earlier. But now it seems I have no choice but to do so." Master Garza, that's not what I meant. How could Come on not understand what he meant? Garza was the most authoritative blacksmith in Dooland, so how could he allow others to question his ability? He had questioned Garza's appraisal earlier, so wouldn't that mean doubting Garza's ability? Come on really wanted to slap himself for this, just why did he have to doubt Garza's skills? Wasn't that asking for death? Unfortunately, it was too late to say anything. Well, let me show you what a weapon forged of rainbow adamantine should look like, Garza said, and slowly retrieved a single-handed sword from around his waist. From afar, the single-handed sword looked dull as though it had been lying in the ashes. Nobody would spare it a second glance if it was not being held in the hands of the most influential smithing master in Duland. Perhaps only Lin Li knew that the single-handed sword was indeed forged of rainbow adamantine. Of the rare magical metals, rainbow adamantine was the most unstable and easily affected by external factors. While a weapon forged of rainbow adamantine looked dull at first, it would glow with rainbow colors once mana and combat energy were channeled into it. Just like this single-handed sword, a weapon forged of rainbow adamantine has many magical attributes, each with its own color. Garza channeled a bit of combat energy into the single-handed sword he held. In an instant, the shop was glowing with the colors of the rainbow, filling it with an air of lavishness. "Well, come on, I did not wrong you, did I?" Laserk took over with a sinister air. Come on paled as he looked at the single-handed sword in Garza's hands, before looking at the crystal-clear machete. The machete lay quietly and shone in the bright afternoon sun. The blade was crystal clear, not a trace of color or imperfection. At any other time, Come On would have marveled at that, such a sharp machete. Now, however, Come On had no tears left to cry. As the most authoritative blacksmith, Garza's words were the final say. If even he had said that weapons forged of rainbow adamantine were dull, then the machete he had sold was almost certainly a fake. What was he going to do now? He would be in big trouble for selling young Master Laserk a fake. I'm doomed. Come On felt completely hopeless now. If he'd known this would happen, he would have never agreed to sell the 4 pieces of magical equipment. It did not earn him much, but it was about to cost him his life. How could he fool young Master Laserk? If Anjai was involved, then it would really be the end for the Rosen Union. Master Garza too. Damn it, I must have been blind to doubt him. If every blacksmith in Duland came after me, I would be dead. As Come On wallowed in regret, Lin Li emerged from the crowd with a smile. It seems Master Garza is quite knowledgeable about rainbow adamantine. Who are you? Laserk frowned as he glared at Lin Li with his beady eyes. Anyone who knew him would be able to tell that he was on the verge of exploding. How dared this rascal not know his place and interrupt him while he was confronting someone? Does he take me for a joke? While the middle-aged blacksmith said nothing, he frowned as well. Clearly, the most authoritative blacksmith of Duland did not enjoy having his conversation interrupted. Come On, however, could not hide his happiness. He knew very well that only the young mage who forged the machete could save him. Me? I'm just here for the buzz. Lin Li smiled as he waved off Laserk with an excuse, before turning to the most authoritative blacksmith of Duland. Right. Master Garza, since you know rainbow adamantine very well, could I ask you something regarding it? What is it? Garza frowned, he looked somewhat angry. Anyone would, having their conversation interrupted by a stranger, much less a man of his status. Well, it's like this, Master Garza. Lin Li remained oblivious to it as he smiled humbly before asking, as you've heard, I am nothing but a young mage, but coincidentally, I know a thing or two about forging, and I remember hearing that not all weapons made of rainbow adamantine have to be dull and dirty. I wonder if that's true. Nonsense. Garza's expression darkened, and when he looked at Lin Li once again, there was no hiding the anger in his eyes. He had been a blacksmith for years, and worked his way up to a smithing master from a mere blacksmith. Countless rare magical metals had passed through his hands, and he had even forged over 10 weapons made of rainbow adamantine. He could tell a rainbow adamantine weapon even with his eyes closed. Nobody could rival Garza's skills in the whole of Duland. Even the self-proclaimed forging masters of the Dwarf Kingdom did not dare go against Garza nor doubt his skills. Today, for some reason, Come On had doubted his appraisal, before a young stranger doubted his skills. He even said that weapons forged of rainbow adamantine did not have to be dull. Damn it, don't tell me it would shimmer like this damned machete? What a joke. Rascal, are you looking for trouble? Laserk said unhappily before he shoved Lin Li away. Move aside, you must be blind to look for trouble in Duland. Master Garza may not stoop to your level, but I will not let you off easily. A mage? I can kill you easily if I want to. Then, all Laserk saw was a blur before his eyes. Look where your hands are going. The black-cloaked Norfeller moved like a ghost. He had pushed Lin Li behind him in an instant. With his pale face and blood-red eyes, the aura coming from the high-ranking vampire was as chilly as winter even in the bright afternoon sun. Even the ever-haughty Lazarik, could not help shivering as he stood before Norfeller. It was a primal instinct of prey before a predator. Norfeller, don't do this, you'll scare him, Lin Li smiled, and ushered Norfeller aside before turning to Lazarik with a smile. Sorry about that, he's got a bit of a temper. I apologize if he has offended you. Humph. Lazarik glared at Norfeller, but for some reason, the curses at the tip of his tongue could not find their way out as he looked at the deathly red eyes. Instead, he gulped. One thing he was right about, however. If you do not keep your hands in check, young Master Lazarik, I cannot be sure they will remain by your side. Lin Li smiled as though he had not been threatening to cut somebody's hands off. What did you say? Lazarik almost erupted at that. He had thought that he was the most arrogant man in Duland, but he'd never thought that this young mage would trump him by a long shot. How dares he threaten to cut my hands off like that? Damn it, who does he think he is? Lazarik was furious. In his 20-odd years in Duland, nobody had dared to say this to him. Even the archmages from Alana had to treat him with respect because of his father, much less a young mage. How was he going to live this down without teaching the young mage a lesson? Damn it, I'd like to see you try. Lazarik lifted the machete worth thousands of gold coins with an angry cry, only for a blue combat energy to rise, and all he saw was the shimmer of light reflected on the blade. Then, he heard the clink of metal. Young man, your temper will do you no good. Only when Garza said this did the people realize that Lazarik had not managed to wield the machete before Garza had stopped him easily with the sword in his hand. Garza's words were not directed at Lazarik, however, as he kept his eyes on the black-cloaked Norfeller, both threateningly and cautiously. Norfeller remained like a marble statue as though he had not heard the blacksmith. Only those sensitive to magical energy realized that while Norfeller remained still, strong magical waves were pouring off of him. Without a doubt, this was the reason why Garza had stopped Lazarik. A pity that Lazarik did not understand this, as he wanted to continue his attack after that. Master Garza, you don't have to plead for this guy. He's too much. How dare he threaten me in Duland? I must show him some color to see today. Forget it, young Master Lazarik. Garza shook his head as he looked somewhat helpless. Honestly, he would have left Lazarik here to let him try and show them some color to see if not for Anjai. What a fool, the black-cloaked guy moved like a ghost and shielded the young mage in an instant. If they really fought, he would have Lazarik's head in an instant too. Show them some color to see? More like show them your head. Unfortunately, he could not say this due to Anjai as well. Hence, he only shook his head, and patiently persuaded him. All right, young Master Lazarik, you have punished the corrupted businessman. Let's talk when we return, okay? No, Master Garza, you have to teach him a lesson for me today. He's too arrogant. How dares he threaten me? Lazarik refused to let go of this still. Honestly, even Garza was afraid of the pale-faced young man. The unrestrained magical wave pouring off of him was too scary. If he was not wrong, this man had to be at least level 17. Even if he went against him, the odds of winning were slim. Besides, with the speed at which he moved, this man was most likely well-versed in martial arts as well. Without question, it would be foolish to go against a man like that. But, Master Garza. Lazarik wanted to continue his protests, but was immediately cut off by Garza. Alright, Lazarik, let's end this here. I'm tired and wish to rest. You can settle the rest of it with come on. Okay, Lazarik debated for a while, before he reluctantly agreed. He did not have a choice, as he could not go against Garza. Even his father Anjai had to treat him with utmost respect as the president of the Guild of Blacksmiths was not merely a blacksmith, he had an unimaginably formidable backing. With Lazarik's agreement, it all became easier. Come On had long wanted to settle the issue amicably, and bought the machete from Lazarik at 2 times the original price without a second thought. After sending off Lazarik and Garza respectfully, Come On looked deflated as he sat in the thrashed shop for half an hour before he returned to his senses. I'm sorry Mage Felix, that was embarrassing. Haha, that was nothing. If we must, it was me who had troubled you. Come on, patronized him half-heartedly, before burying the incident as though it had never happened. As for the shimmering machete, which lay amidst the debris in the shop, Come on never gave it another glance, and treated it like it was nothing but air. Come on thought that this was the wisest way to deal with the situation, and since Master Garza had said that it was not forged from rainbow adamantine, something had to be wrong here. But even then, Come on dared not say anything, since he did not have any evidence. Even if he did, he could not question Mage Felix with the machete, and ask him why he gave him a fake to sell. What a joke, hadn't he been in enough trouble? Thus, Come on thought the best thing to do was to remain silent. Unfortunately, Come on did not know that Lin Li knew what he was doing, and could not help finding it amusing. Lin Li knew what he was thinking, but did not want to explain it to him. Honestly, Lin Li might have been the only one who knew that the machete was indeed forged from rainbow adamantine. Only, he had used a skill that was too advanced when forging it, so even a smithing master like Garza had thought it was fake. True, weapons forged of rainbow adamantine would look dull, but everything had an exception, rainbow adamantine included. Amongst the techniques of smithing gurus, there was one targeted at rainbow adamantine. Everybody knew that weapons had to be quenched at least once, even most magical weapons. It was just that the method of quenching was more complicated. Rainbow adamantine, however, had to be quenched at least 2 to 7 times, as every time it was quenched, the weapon was infused with another magical attribute. This was a testament to a blacksmith's skills, for the number of times it was quenched determined the quality of the blacksmith's technique as well as the quality of the weapon forged of rainbow adamantine. The more times it was quenched, the more magical attributes it had. A blacksmith who was able to quench the weapon 7 times was no doubt a true master. However, Lin Li's skills were way above that of a master, and he knew that to quench it 7 times was not the limit. Actually, it was better to quench it only once and infuse it with 8 magical attributes, created in that single instance. That was the true limit of forging rainbow adamantine. A smithing guru was one because they could achieve what a smithing master could not. It was every blacksmith's life goal to reach the 7 magical attributes of rainbow adamantine, and to be able to forge a weapon with 7 magical attributes meant that their forging skills had peaked out. However, the blacksmiths who stood at the peak knew that an 8th magical attribute existed, it was only that its presence was more obscure than a god's words. To be able to forge a weapon with 8 magical attributes, with 1 quenching, was a goal only smithing masters could pursue. Legend had it that the smithing gurus who were above smithing masters in skills could forge the weapon with 1 quenching and activate the 8th magical attribute of rainbow adamantine. At the same time, the weapon would shimmer unlike what usually happened. And Lin Li had used the technique belonging to smithing masters for this machete. A pity that nobody, Garza included, could see the true value of this machete. Alright, come on, time is ticking, bring me to the dwarf. Lin Li was a little dejected to have the masterpiece he'd created in a moment of passion depreciated. He was not in the mood for small talk, hence, with a few half-hearted words, he rushed Come on to bring him to the carriage of ore. Okay. As the two exchanged half-hearted words, Lazarick had already boarded the carriage with Garza at his side. Garza was resting with his eyes closed, and paid no mind to Lazarick's endless complaints. Master Garza, the 2 foreigners were too much. Why didn't you let me punish them? And Come on, that corrupted businessman, how dares he doubt your appraisal after selling me a fake? If not for your sake, I would have torn down his shop. Alright, Lazarick, don't forget that you're Anjai's son and will take over from him one day as the Castellan of Doolan. Rashness is not a good trait to have as a Castellan. The middle-aged blacksmith could not help frowning at Lazarick's endless complaints. But no buts, Lazarick. I'll tell you this, the 2 foreigners are not people you can punish, especially the black-cloaked man. The black-cloaked man? Lazarick was not convinced. Isn't he just a servant? Why can't I punish him? Servant? Garza shifted himself and sat up straighter, a sneer on his tan face. You really think he is a servant? Don't be funny, Lazarick, he is at least a level 17 mage. Even the most powerful mage that your father has may not have such capabilities, and you think he is a servant you can punish? Lu, level 17? Lazaric gulped, his beady eyes filled with disbelief. Why you? You said, that black-cloaked guy, is a level 17 mage? Maybe even level 18. But something is strange. Garza frowned deeply again at this, his tanned face filled with doubt as he spoke as though to himself. I couldn't tell how powerful the other mage was. Could he be more powerful than the guy in the black cloak? Master Garza, what are you saying? Lazaric was confused when he heard this. What other mage, who was stronger than the guy in a black cloak? Could Master Garza be referring to the guy who had threatened him about his hands? Right, weapons forged of rainbow adamantine do not have to be dull. That must be it, the eighth magical attribute, the legendary eighth magical attribute. Garza muttered to himself, and became more excited as he did. In the end, he leaped up, and yelled, "Stop the carriage!" What happened, Master Garza? Lazaric was taken aback. Don't ask any more, Lazaric, get someone to bring me the machete from the shop now. The machete? Yes, the machete forged from rainbow adamantine. Alright, Master Garza, calm down, I'll have someone do it now. Garza looked very serious, so Lazaric did not dare delay it any further as he stopped the carriage and alighted before getting one of his attendants to buy the machete back. After that, Lazaric returned to the carriage with a doubtful expression. Master Garza, why is it you want it back? Lazaric, the middle-aged blacksmith shook his head. The calmness from earlier could not be seen on his tanned face anymore. I was wrong. How could I not have thought of that? There really is a smithing guru in this world. Smithing guru, what smithing guru? Only in legends, a smithing guru who can activate all 8 magical attributes of rainbow adamantine with one quenching. Lazaric finally understood something when he heard this. You're saying? Yes, if I'm right, the one who forged the machete is a true smithing guru. Good heavens, while Lazaric was not all that smart, he knew what being a smithing guru entailed. It meant forging skills that were out of this world and an incomparable status that commanded great respect. In the 1,300 years after the Dark Ages, there had only been 2 smithing gurus, and they had godlike status amongst blacksmiths as they could both achieve the impossible like a god. No doubt that a piece of scrap metal could be transformed into a weapon in their hands. Lazaric was stunned. He could not believe that the machete he called a fake had been forged by a smithing guru. He gulped as he thought of this. What do I do, Master Garza, what do I do? Will he be angered by what I said at the shop? It was no child's play to offend a smithing guru. He might not have much influence, and might not have anything apart from his forging skills, but the consequences of offending him were terrifying as there was no saying how many legendary and powerful individuals were waiting to get into his good books. Don't worry, a blacksmith who has achieved a guru status would not be angered by your words. You are only a child who's throwing a tantrum in their eyes. Do you think an adult would be angered by that? The middle-aged blacksmith comforted him before frowning again. But come on would be a bit of a problem. Come on? Lazaric paused before showing his disdain. What problem could that old fatty be? He is only a businessman with a bit of power. I'll have father issue an order to keep his mouth shut or we'll close down his shop and banish him from Dooland. Fool! The middle-aged blacksmith almost exploded in anger, and he nearly stabbed Lazaric with his finger. Can't you use your brains, Lazaric? Think about it, how did Come On get the machete? How? Lazaric pondered with a blank look before covering his mouth suddenly, then his face started becoming white. Master Garza, you're saying that Come On got the machete because he knows the smithing guru? What else do you think? My God. People like Come On are the most troublesome. If he can fawn over you because of your father, he can also bear a grudge because of what you did to his shop. Yes, Master Garza, I know what to do. The smithing guru was not aware of the pair's conversation. To be honest, he was pulling out his hair in frustration in Come On's shop. If not for the carriage of ice crystal metal, he would have gone on a rampage. It was Lin Li's first encounter with dwarves since he came to Amril, and so he only realized today that they really lived up to their reputation of being difficult. To put it bluntly, the dwarfs from Danmod were as difficult and stubborn as a bull. According to this dwarf had some status in Danmod. His grandfather or his great-grandfather had once led an army to go against the High Elf's magic legion during the Dark Ages, and thus, this fellow's full name was ridiculously long. It would take a minute to recite it in its entirety. Well, this was how the dwarves were. The more impressive their history was, the longer the names of their descendants were, as they liked to add their achievements into their descendants' names. Anduin had once said that to know the history of the dwarf kingdom, one need not visit the library, for all they had to do was to ask a dwarf of high status to recite his full name. Of course, if his name took a minute to recite completely, he could not use it on a daily basis. In the following conversation, addressed him as Mr. Stern. As Stern translated to Forge in Kuzdal, the language of the dwarves, it seemed that the Sterns were a family of blacksmiths. No, my father said that humans are crafty creatures, and I will not fall for this. My ore will only be sold in exchange for food, no amount of money will suffice. Stern spoke with a thick Danmod accent, and Lin Li had to use the same amount of concentration he used when memorizing spells to decipher a bit of it. This was all because of Stern's accent. No choice, his accent was really too strong, and even who had spent years dealing with various races, could not understand him. Yes, the carriage of ice crystal metal cost 1 million gold coins, but he wanted 1 million gold coins worth of food. Lin Li was incredibly angry when he thought of this. Damn it, I don't know anyone here in the breezy plains. How am I going to get you 1 million gold coins worth of food? Even then, how would I dare to? 1 million gold coins worth of food would pile up higher than the walls of Duland, and require an army of hundreds to transport. If I did that, wouldn't I be charged for colluding with other countries? If the Sky Knights and the Three-Guard army came for me, are you going to help me explain this mess? I can't do that, Stern. 1 million gold coins worth of food is too much. I can't get you that much now. Why don't you give me some time, say, 3 to 6 months, and I'll send it over to Danmod in batches? No, my father said. Lin Li was hopping mad, and would have slapped him for wasting his afternoon away if not for the ice crystal metal. All he did was say no, my father said. Damn it, since your father already said so, why are you here in Duland? To waste my time? The worst part was that Lin Li could not do anything about it even after trying to persuade him the whole afternoon. That fellow refused to budge. Lin Li had no choice, and so he stood up as he said helplessly, "All right, Stern. You're staying in Duland for some time, aren't you?" "Yes, my father said that if I can't exchange the ore for food, I can't return to Danmod either." "What about this, Stern? I don't have so much food right now, so can you give me a few days?" "Just a week. Keep the ore for me for a week and don't sell them to anyone else. In a week, I'll get you 1 million gold coins worth of food." No, my father said humans are crafty. What if you don't return to me after a week?" "What are you looking at me for? This is what my father said. I'll give you 50,000 gold coins first, and if I don't return in a week, you can take that as compensation for your time." As Lin Li said this, he really wondered which idiot had said that dwarves were honest people. Damn it, this fellow even knows you have to compensate for defaulting a contract. Honest? I must be a saint, then. Deal. Stern had agreed very quickly, this time. Lin Li held in his anger again and again, so as not to land a slap on the damned dwarf. His face had darkened from his anger as they walked out of the shop. It terrified who panicked internally as he smiled carefully at Lin Li while reminding himself to watch his words lest Lin Li's anger was taken out on him. "Come on, what do you think of this?" Well, Mage Felix, watched him carefully. Those damned dwarves are naturally stubborn, and won't change their minds easily after they have decided on something. I'm afraid we'll really have to get 1 million gold coins worth of food before we can get the ice crystal metal. I know that. Lin Li shook his head, frustrated. What I want to know is, do you have any solution to this? Well, to be honest, Mage Felix, I can think of something if it's a few thousand gold coins worth of food, but 1 million is really too much. Why don't you give me a few days, I'll call up a few friends. Okay, then. It was already evening when they returned to Black Cloud's town. Lin Li felt increasingly upset the more he thought about what happened in these few days, as they did not achieve anything despite all the trouble. If he had known earlier, he would have stayed home to study the core magical mantras. Strange, why are there so few people? Lin Li alighted from the carriage at the entrance of the town, and walked back to the house he had been staying at, but found something was amiss as he did. Black Cloud's town was too quiet today, and he did not see a single familiar face along the walk. While Black Cloud's town was in a remote area, it was home to a lot of people, and many would come out for a walk after dinner every day. Even foreigners like Lin Li had come to know a few familiar faces in town in the past month. Black Cloud's town was strange today, however. It was unusually quiet, just as if everyone had disappeared all of a sudden. Master, there is a stench of blood. Just as Lin Li was feeling suspicious, Norfeller, who stood at his side, frowned suddenly. Norfeller was a true high-ranking vampire whose life source came from blood itself, which explained his incredible sensitivity to the presence of blood. If Norfeller said there was a stench of blood, then it had to have come from somebody in Black Cloud's town. What place is it coming from? The church square. Let's go. Lin Li released a levitation spell before he finished speaking. With the spell, Lin Li flew to the church square as though he was swept by the wind. The month spent on studying the core magical mantras had brought him many benefits, and he could make a simple levitation spell quicker than lightning. Fortunately, nobody was around to witness this, for they would have been scared out of their wits. For someone to be able to use a levitation spell the way an archmage used a legendary level flying spell, could he really be human? Lin Li flew to the church square in an instant with his near-legendary levitation spell, and was stunned by what he saw. The somewhat small place was crowded, with at least 1,000 people there. Black Cloud's town was neither the prosperous capital Alana, nor was it the chaotic Gerosis filled with the 17 powers, it was merely a remote town near Duland, with a little over 1,000 families. That meant that almost every family had a representative in the church square. Move it quickly, and stop dilly-dallying, pay up and go home. If you hold me back from dinner, I'll have you suffer next month. The voice that came from the crowd sounded nasal as though he had a serious case of sinus. Lin Li looked down in his shock, and saw a strong man in his 30s standing behind a long table with a chest sitting on it. The man shouted curses as he placed silver coins in the chest, while the townsfolk lined up before the table and presented their silver coins at his orders. Lin Li had initially thought that it was the tax officer. It made sense. The borders of the Felon Kingdom had grown increasingly restless over the years, especially last year. The two great human kingdoms, Felon and Ledon, had fought a few wars consecutively, and while they were small in scale, everyone knew that the two human kingdoms would ultimately engage in a big war. Wars and taxes always came together, hence the heavy taxes in recent years. Lin Li had only been here for a month, but even then, he had seen the tax officer's carriage twice. But something did not seem quite right, since when did the tax officer who dressed in black and rode a carriage look so arrogant? Look at him, beady, angled eyes, a strong, robust face, and saliva flying as he shouted at the top of his voice. With both his legs hiked up on the table, he looked dashing. With a touch of style, no tax officer looked this arrogant. Damn it, all you stingy fellows, if not for the sire bandits protecting you all these years, could your crops grow so well? Could your businesses remain prosperous for so long? Also, could your kids become so big? We're only charging a bit of money, and here you are taking such a long time, haven't you any conscience? Let me tell you, our boss said that prices are rising these days, and our spending has increased, so from next month onwards, each family is to pay another 50 silver coins. You'd better prepare that money now, and not take your time like today. As the man continued his rant, Lin Li finally understood what was going on. This guy was way more arrogant and dashing than tax officers, but at least they had to calculate carefully how much tax they would collect, unlike this guy who simply decided how much protection fee he wanted them to give him. Lin Li had never liked the idea of protection fees. Hence, he slowly descended from the sky with the intention to talk to this man, but then he heard someone call his name. "Felix, why are you here?" Lin Li turned around, and saw an old man with white hair. "Good evening, Uncle Salat." This old man named Salat was Lin Li's new neighbor. He ran a small blacksmith shop, and made a living by making farming tools. Black Cloud's town was a small town, and most people did not replace their farming tools for a few years at a time. Hence, Salat's business had been slow, often not a single person would drop by his shop for days. On top of that, his son was a good-for-nothing who dreamed of making it big as an adventurer, and had been hanging out in Dulan since he was a teenager. While he did not become an adventurer, he was quickly becoming a lowly thug. Since he did not make much money these years, he had to rely on his father to support him. With slow business and an incompetent son, Salat often struggled financially. While he struggled financially, Salat was a well-known Samaritan in Black Cloud's town. Take Lin Li for example. When he had first moved here, Salat had taken very good care of him, always asking if he was well, and treated him like family. Even now, when Salat made something to eat, he would always call on his young neighbor to share it. Lin Li was thick-skinned, but even he felt embarrassed by Salat's hospitality at times, and always told himself that he would have to find a chance to repay this kind old man someday. Right now, Salat's face was filled with panic. "Felix, quick, tell me, why did you come here?" "Haha, I went out in the day, and didn't see anybody in town when I returned." "Sigh, you," Salat sighed, his wrinkled face was filled with worry and panic. "Why did you come back? You should have just stayed out, why did you have to come back now?" "Sigh, this is going to be messy." "What is going on, Uncle Salat? Don't ask so many questions now." Salat looked around before he pulled Lin Li aside, and pointed at the forest opposite the church square. "Felix, you see that?" Yes, the small path right next to the forest. "The bloodsuckers haven't seen you yet, so follow it and hide outside the town, wait until night falls, before coming back." "What bloodsuckers?" "Them." The old man discreetly pointed at the man who sat in the center of the crowd, collecting money. "They're from the Sire bandits. These bloodsuckers collect a lot of money from the townsfolk every year, saying it is the price for protecting us. PFF, these damned bloodsuckers, will be thankful if they don't find trouble with us." "What protection? You just give them the money?" "How can we not? Every one of them is armed, so how can we fight against them?" "What about the town's soldiers? And Dulan? Black Cloud's town is under Dulan's protection, isn't it? Haven't they ever asked about this? The town's soldiers are no match for them. There are only a few dozens of them, and their weapons are outdated. The Sire bandits have over 1,000 people, all formidable ones in the breezy plains. How can a few soldiers with outdated weapons protect Black Cloud's town? As for Dulan, well, I heard Anjai is on pretty good terms with the boss of Sire bandits." "I see," Lin Li nodded, and said nothing more. "Alright, Felix, I've told you what you wanted to know, you'd better get going now. You may not know this, but these bloodsuckers not only collect money, they often take the town's young men and make them join them or turn them into slaves. You've seen my son, haven't you? If not because I feared the bloodsuckers would take him away, why would I allow him to fool around in Dulan?" The old man was worried sick as he said this. If it was up to him, he wouldn't want to see his young neighbor hurt. While they had only met not too long ago, the old man treated him like his own child, and this young man was the exact opposite of his son. He was humble and mild-tempered, a polite smile always on his face. Lin Li was always respectful even to a lowly blacksmith like him, and asked him about his work when he came to visit in his shop. Such a nice young man, how could he bear to see him taken by the Sire bandits? He would either die from torture or be brainwashed into a ruthless bandit. "Don't worry, Uncle Salat, I won't be taken by them." Lin Li knew what Salat was worried about. After comforting him gratefully, he looked over to the man sitting behind the table. He had to admit that it was quite a chore to collect protection fees. There were over 1,000 families in Black Cloud's town, and 50 silver coins a family would mean over 50,000 silver coins in total. It had to be tiring to collect all of them. No wonder the boss wanted to raise the price next month. Alright, you damned misers, move faster and stop taking your time, I'll skin you alive if you delay my dinner. Rosu shouted as he clinked a few silver coins in his hand. Lin Li pursed his lips as he prepared to tell this guy that he would not have time for dinner. However, there began a stir in the crowd at that moment. Let me go, you bastards, let me go. A few armed bandits were escorting a young man from the center of the square. He looked to be in his 20s. At a glance, he even looked quite similar to Salat. You bunch of nincompoops. Wait till our boss comes, the young man shouted as he wrestled with the robbers. Unbeknownst to him, there was a pair of eyes on him. Gee, Gasso. How could it be Gasso? Didn't I tell that fella not to come back? Why is he back? Old Salat stuttered at the sight of the young man walking into the cathedral square. His face turned ashen. What happened, Uncle Salat? Lin Li looked at old Salat by his side, and then at the young man at the cathedral square. He suddenly understood everything. Is he your son? Yes, this is him. What should I do? I always told this scoundrel not to come back to the Black Clouds town before the 15th of every month. Now that he's back, the old man was so worried after seeing that his son fell into the hands of the robbers. Uncle Salat, don't worry first. Nothing would happen to your son. Lin Li was not trying to comfort him. The reason was simple, the robbers were too weak to begin with. Although they were strong in numbers, the strongest was not more than level 10. To a level 16 archmage, they were just nobodies. If Lin Li wanted to, he could get rid of them all at once, not to mention saving old Salat's son. Hence, Lin Li was not worried at all. After comforting old Salat, his gaze landed on the young man named Gasso. There were residents and robbers among the thousands of people in the cathedral square. But, the main thing that interested Lin Li was the useless son, Gasso, old Salat was talking about. Although this young man wore common leather armor just like other adventurers, the way he walked was as if he had not had any martial training before. Furthermore, when that fella walked into the cathedral square, Lin Li remembered that he clearly saw a small metal hook hanging out of his pocket. Lin Li remembered that was the most common tool used by Gerosis robbers. It seemed that the son old Salat was talking about was much more useless than he imagined him to be. When the robbers took Gasso into the cathedral square, one of them ran towards the long table, and spoke discreetly to his vice-chieftain, who was counting money. What? The bandit vice-chieftain exclaimed upon hearing what the robber told him. He stopped counting money, and sprang up from his chair. Then, he walked up to Gasso menacingly. Slap. A crisp sound could be heard. Damn, you have big guts. The vice-chieftain gave Gasso a tight slap. His cheek became swollen immediately. What followed was a heavy kick that made Gasso stumble backwards. If he had not been held on to tightly by the two robbers behind him, he would have fallen to the ground. The vice-chieftain did not give up, and started to give Gasso a harsh beating. God damn it, you have a boss too, don't you? Alright, let me see if my fist is harder than your backing. You guys, what are you waiting for? Beat him to death. While the vice-chieftain shouted, the other robber went towards Gasso. The sound made when their fists landed on his skin was deafening. When his gaze landed on Gasso, old Salat clenched his fist. However, he could not stand the sight of his son getting punched by so many people. Marco! You robbers, let my son go. Old Salat barged into the crowd, and dashed towards his son. Before anyone realized it, old Salat was already like a hen trying to protect its chick. He brought Gasso behind him, and let the fists land on him like a heavy rain. However, since old Salat was a middle-aged man in his 50s, he was not as strong as he had been in his youth. How would he be able to withstand the never-ending blows? Not long after, he started to puke blood. F***CKU, old man. If you want to die, let me give you the chance. This time, Lin Li could not stand still anymore. He shook his head, took out his ether staff from the ring of endless storm, and summoned the bloodvine spell. At that instant, the ground of the cathedral square was covered by red blood vines. They were not only like countless red snakes entangled together, but also like blooming blood flowers. Everyone's gaze were fixed onto that pool of red. F***ck, what's that? A group of robbers got engulfed by the sea of red before they could say anything. The first person that the blood vines attached themselves onto was their vice chieftain, Marco. He was tightly wrapped by the blood vines. Since it was a real level 15 spell that even an archmage might not be able to deal with, how would a low-level warrior like Marco be able to withstand it? He could only watch the hundreds of blood vines entangle themselves tightly around himself. After doing that, Lin Li patted off the dirt on his long robe, and walked out of the crowd slowly. To be honest, Mr. Marco, I think you might not have a chance to have your dinner. Who are you? Marco asked fearfully. He could feel the countless pricks sinking into him slowly. The pain was not excruciating, but he could not help but feel helpless. They were like blunt knives slicing his body slowly. Me? I'm just somebody who doesn't like paying protection fees, Lin Li replied smilingly as he controlled the speed of the blood vines growing. It was to ensure that would not endanger innocent lives. As the two men had their conversation, there were whispers among the people in the cathedral square. The discussion started off with just 3 people, but now, it expanded like a plague, and spread to the whole of the cathedral square. Everyone was asking about the origin of that man. It did not take long for them to meet someone who knew it. That person told them proudly that the young man had just moved to the Black Clouds town a month ago, and had recently bought something from his small shop. However, it did not matter if they knew him or not. None of them could believe that this young man who appeared to be a gentleman was actually a powerful mage. This piece of news caused the residents to be really surprised. To them, a mage was the world's most mysterious occupation. They could control lightning and storm and fire and ice, and had extraordinary strength to create many miracles in the human world. When the young man just moved in a month ago, the residents felt that he was really agreeable and humble. None of them had expected such a mighty power to hide behind his amicable facade. Felix is really a mage? Of course. This voice belonged to Lin Li's landlady. She was at least 40 years old, and opened a bakery. Now, her face was glistening with pride as she bragged about how she realized that Lin Li was not any common man, and how she gave Lin Li a lot of care since he moved in. Anyway, if Lin Li had stayed at the Black Clouds town for a shorter period of time, she might even brag that she taught Lin Li his magic. At once, the cathedral square became very lively. Everyone felt more at ease, and no one cared about the robbers anymore. To them, the presence of the mage in the Black Clouds town meant the death of those little robbers. Let me warn you, fella. We are the Sire Bandits. If you dare to be funny, our boss will not let you go. Marco lost all of the pride he had just now. He was like a drowning man, trying to grab onto straws, trying to live on. Unfortunately, this piece of straw was meaningless to Lin Li. He didn't know the Sire Bandits at all, and didn't know who the boss Marco was referring to was. Mr. Marco, to be honest, you have too many things to talk about. What followed was the lighting up of the jewel on top of the arched staff. As the dragon's eye glowed, it was as though the numerous vines had experienced a shock. They retracted at once, and a shriek could be heard. Hot fresh blood splashed out, staining the grounds of the cathedral square. The square went silent immediately. Lin Li took back the bloodvines slowly. His eyes were on the rest of the robbers. Does anyone else wants their dinner? Apart from the sound of hearts thumping and people breathing, the silence in the surrounding area was deafening. The rest of the robbers looked at each other uneasily. None of them dared to make a sound. Their gazes towards Lin Li were filled with trepidation and helplessness. Since they had no time for escape, who would want to provoke that killer? Very good, Lin Li said as he glanced at the robbers, before showing signs of satisfaction. Since everyone is so polite, I'm not going to make things difficult for you. You can go after leaving behind all your things. Sure, the robbers were already shocked by Marco's death. Now that Lin Li said he would let them off, they had no time to fuss about their belongings. At once, the clattering sound of the weapons dropping on the ground could be heard. Two timid robbers even ran to the long table and brought that heavy wooden box full of silver coins to Lin Li's feet as though in an act of ingratiation. After all these, the bunch of robbers sighed in relief. Although the Black Clouds town was small, today's collection of protection fees was too dangerous. They had really seen a monster. Why would such an invincible mage come to the Black Clouds town? If they'd known about it, they would have joined the other group in robbing the traders. It would certainly be much safer than the Black Clouds town. What they were glad for was the little bit of humanity that mage had. Although he killed Marco, he spared their lives. Wait a minute. When the robbers were secretly celebrating the fact that they were spared, Lin Li's "wait a minute" nearly caused them to pee in their pants. The bunch of burly men stood frozen in fear, and looked at each other nervously like guilty children that were unsure of what they had done wrong. After 5 minutes of staring at one another, a robber who was braver than others stood out from the crowd. He asked, cautiously, "Most respected Mr. Mage, what orders do you have? Do I need to remind you again? I meant it when I said to leave behind all your belongings." When Lin Li said that, the bunch of robbers flushed. Does that mean that we have to take off our clothes? If this happened in the past, these robbers would let their fists speak for them. How could the robbers from the Sire Bandits expose themselves to such shame? However, none of them said a thing. Everyone was in a dilemma. In the end, they were overcome by their desire to live. One leather armor got placed on the grounds of the cathedral square after another. Then, the undergarments. Not long after, there was a huge pile of clothes in the cathedral square. "All right, you can go now." Hence, the group of naked robbers frantically escaped from the Black Clouds town. This incident would become a famous anecdote among the people of Black Clouds town for many years. They would come to love talking about it after their meals, and recount the events of the day President Felix first came to the Black Clouds town, and how those 10 robbers ran away in shame. The wooden box that was full of silver coins went back to the residents of Black Clouds town. Old Salat was the one who distributed them. Since he was one of the top blacksmiths in the Black Clouds town, no one had any objection. At the same time, Lin Li sneaked back to his house. He knew that if he did not do so, the residents would not let him go that easily. What should he do when a whole bunch of fat aunties rushed towards him to ask about his life aspirations? Yet, when Lin Li returned to the house, there was something in his hand. From its appearance, it looked like a key. If Lin Li did not remember it wrongly, it was this thumb-sized key that was found in Garso's possession when he was brought to the cathedral square. It became the reason why Lin Li would request that those 10 robbers take off their clothes back then. "All right, Canoris. What a petty peeping Tom you are. I have the key you wanted, come out at once." After he returned to his house, Lin Li let Norfeller guard the door before opening the Ring of Endless Storm to call Canoris out. "What peeping Tom? That's not nice. Cut the crap." Lin Li snapped angrily. "If you are not a peeping Tom, why did you keep nagging at my ear to take this key? Do you know that I had to let the entire bunch of robbers strip just to get it? Unknowing people might think that I have such a weird fetish. So exciting? Shut up." Lin Li placed the key on the table. "If you don't give me a reasonable explanation, get ready to stay inside the ring for a month. Don't worry. Listen to me first." Perhaps it was due to him being trapped in the Ring of Endless Storm for too long, but Canoris was unusually straightforward in his words today. "Your neighbor?" Lin Li asked, before realizing its meaning. "You mean, a devil?" "That's right. A real high-level devil. The lord of the 10th level of the Abyss, Serratus." "Oh my god. Young man, calm down. I still have more shocking news than this. My neighbor is not an agreeable person. Ever since he was born, he never stopped challenging me. Unfortunately for him, he never succeeded. How would a mighty soul trader lose to a pitiful worm? Those times are really making me feel nostalgic. Every day was filled with battles. There were always countless devils battling on the 10th and 11th level of the abyss. This lasted until one day, when Osric brought his magic legion into the abyss. Those darn high elves were too powerful. Osric's magic legion was like a mincer that ground all of the devils into bits and pieces. Osric only used an evening to defeat the level 10 of the abyss, and nearly killed my sweet little neighbor. Nearly? Yeah, nearly, Canoris replied. He was really immersed in his story, and his hoarse voice was filled with emotions. When the magic legion was chasing after him, Serratus shamelessly escaped into my palace. That's so stupid, heh, Canoris laughed. You're right. I killed him, and swallowed his soul. Yet, this was all normal. Only the fittest survive in the abyss. If it was me that tried to hide in Serratus' palace, my sweet neighbor would have done the same, without hesitation. Cut the crap, get to the main point. I'm sure that you know that there would be memory fragments inside any soul. Hence, when I was swallowing Serratus' soul, I obtained part of his memories. One was related to this key. From this memory, I found Serratus had sneaked into the world outside the abyss many years ago and built a personal force there. I could not find further information about it. Still, there is something I'm really sure of. That is, my adorable neighbor's special interest in magical metals. He used his own ability to gather many precious magical metals in this world, and hid them in a secret place. As for the key to that place, it was in the hands of a loyal human slave of his. It's a treasure hunt again? Lin Li interrupted Canoris. He started to understand the situation now. That's right. Then, did you find the exact location of the treasure in Serratus' memory? Heh, that's why I'm here to discuss some things with you. So, are you keen to be my dear partner in attaining the wealth of a demon monarch? Are you going to tell me or not? Lin Li asked impatiently. He was extremely clear on the soul trader's personality. When he heard the word discuss, he knew that that fella had ill intentions. God damn it, how could you threaten a mighty soul trader? The stale dimension within the ring of endless storm was Canoris' weakness. When he saw Lin Li open the ring, he started pleading with him. Wait. I will tell you everything. That's more like it. Actually, Lin Li was not really keen on attaining the demon monarch's treasure. Since 1300 years had already passed, who knew if the treasure hadn't been dug out by some other people? Furthermore, it did not sound credible that a demon monarch would have a thing for collecting magical metals. Even though Canoris was really serious in telling him that, Lin Li was just treating him as though he was saying a fairy tale. The threat he gave Canoris was just a joke. Yet, as he heard more of it, Lin Li could not help but feel surprised. Apparently, Canoris was really not joking this time. He talked about the location of the treasure and the types of magical metals really seriously. Lin Li had to believe in his words. It can't be so powerful. Canoris, are you joking? I don't have time to joke with you. Do you think that Serratus' collection is a joke? Let me tell you, this is a really rare opportunity that you might not meet in 100 years. Don't regret it when you think of it next time. Are you sure? Lin Li glanced at Canoris skeptically. I say, the mighty soul trader, why are you so passionate in sharing it with me this time? Hee. Canoris smiled hideously. It's nothing. Just because there are not only magical metals in Serratus' treasury. There is something else there that interests me. What is it? Something that once belonged to me. That year, our battle was incredibly intense. There were many a time I nearly died under the hands of my cute neighbor. Those things there are the things I dropped on our battlegrounds. They encompassed part of my personal soul energy. I have always been thinking about a certain issue all these years. That is, since Osric used powerful soul energy to seal my body, if I'm able to find those things, they might be of some help to me. It might even separate me from this darn hammer. Oh, so there's that. Lin Li was now entirely clear about the situation and the reason behind Canoris' unusual friendliness. He told Lin Li every clue about the treasure, and kept convincing him to go and uncover the treasure chest. All these efforts were due to his persistence to recover his lost belongings, but that was good too. Each of them could take what they wanted, minimizing any suspicions between them. Then, everything became less complex. Since Kanoris had told him so many things, there was nothing else he had to hide from Lin Li. Kanoris told him that Sarada's treasure was at the north of the breezy plains, in some place called Evergreen Valley. The place had barren hills and unruly rivers. There were rolling hills and dark forested regions. Furthermore, the geographical location of the treasure was unique. It was nicely located at the border between the territories of three races, humans, dwarves, and elves, which no one would pay attention to. It was safe to say that this treasure was hidden in a remote region where few people trod. Even those adventurers who valued money more than their own lives would not want to travel to that miasma-filled area where magical beasts roamed freely just for some money. Sarada's treasure was in one of the caves. In order to explain more clearly, Kanoris even found a map of the Evergreen Valley for Lin Li. Do you see that? If you walk up this mountain, I presume you would need 2 to 3 days to cut through this primeval forest. So, I recommend that you pack some food with you, and don't be foolish and try to battle those magical beasts. When the High Elves were researching a dangerous spell in this area, an incident caused a great leakage of their poisonous chemicals. It polluted almost the entire forest, and the magical beasts soaked them up for more than 1,300 years. I'm sure even a little rabbit would have become a poisonous snake by now. Their meat is going to give you indigestion. Noted, Lin Li replied as he carefully remembered Kanoris' words. After you pass through the primeval forest, you will be able to see the light of day again. However, please do not stop traveling. If you head in the northeastern direction and walk for about 2 to 3 kilometers, there will be a scene of precipitous cliffs. You should walk along the edge of the cliffs, and use either a rope or the levitation spell to bring yourself down. After about 200 meters, you will be able to see the entrance of that cave. So complicated? Complicated? That is just the start. My dear neighbor was not a simple-minded demon. How would he let anyone go near his treasures easily? Not to mention other precautions, just the gate of the cave is enough to block you off. That gate is made wholly from the eternal adamantine. Without the key, the combined abilities of 10 legendary mages would not be enough to open that gate. As Kanoris was immersed in all the descriptions, Lin Li could gradually visualize how the treasury of a demon lord would look like. The conversation between the man and the hammer continued until late at night. Since Lin Li had to be serious about the Evergreen Valley, his queries to Kanoris were very specific. Once Lin Li felt that he had nothing more to ask, he casually placed Kanoris beside his bed, and fell into deep slumber. The next day, Lin Li was awakened by knocking on his door. When he opened the door, he saw Norfeller's ashen face. "What is it, Norfeller?" "Master, there's somebody outside who requested to see you." Oh, Lin Li nodded. He was not surprised. It was not unexpected for people to look for him now. Since he created such a din in the cathedral square, the people of Black Cloud's town were applaudable enough to only look for him now. Oh, yes, when he was putting on his long robe and preparing to head out, he remembered Kanoris at the side of his bed. "I say, mighty soul traitor, I have some guest here. Do you want to hide in that dimension first? PFFF. Kanoris jumped up from the side of the bed. "I hate that darn dimension. There is no sunlight nor air inside. You'd better not send me there again." Lin Li did not expect Kanoris to be so agitated. All right. Then don't hide. Can you not be so agitated?" He placated Kanoris awkwardly. "That's more like it." After reminding Kanoris not to do anything funny, Lin Li and Norfeller went out to meet the guest. As expected, just when Lin Li stepped out of the door, there were over 10 people crowding outside. The old blacksmith Salet, the plump landlady, and a stout middle-aged man who looked around 40 years old were there too. That squabby man had very fair skin that made him look like fermented flour. There were no wrinkles on his smiley face, and that complexion made him appear to be somebody who led a very comfortable life. Lin Li glanced at him skeptically. Then, he remembered that this man was the highest-ranking chief executive of Black Cloud's town, Mayor Alexer. Greetings, Uncle Salet. Good day, Aunt Margaret. Good morning, Mayor Alexer. Lin Li smiled as he greeted the people in a friendly manner. However, when it was Alexer's turn, Lin Li frowned a little. Why is this fence-sitter here? Anyone who had stayed in Black Cloud's town would know that Alexer fitted the title of a fence-sitter. Mr. Mayor did not have much of a stance of his own, and would always gravitate towards anyone with power. Not only that, due to his timidness, any sense of danger would cause him to get insomnia for days. Lin Li knew from old Salet the day before that this Mr. Mayor made an excuse to attend to a non-existent business in Dulan 3 days ago, after knowing that the robbers were going to his town. Throughout the several past years, he was the same. It had become the joke people of Black Cloud's town would laugh about. They said that the time of this mayor going to Dulan to settle some affairs was even more accurate than the lady's monthly period. It was this determination and persistence that paved his road to become the mayor. Of course, Lin Li was not a righteous man that hated injustice. He did not really have qualms about dealing with the fence-sitting mayor. The reason behind his frown was an instinctive worry. Why would someone who liked to avoid trouble visit him? Since that mayor was so cheery today, it might not be something good. He would need to use a lot of energy to dismiss him now. Lin Li pursed his lips as he invited the guests in. Since the house was rented temporarily, the environment was not too great. The living room was not spacious to begin with, and now became even more crowded when the 10 people went in. Mr. Mayor, who had always lived a comfortable life, did not seem to mind it, though. After he sat down, he started to use a very casual tone to talk to Lin Li. I hope Mage Felix finds Black Cloud's town comfortable. Thanks, Mayor Alexer, I quite like Black Cloud's town. In fact, I'm thinking about settling down here too. Oh? Mage Felix wants to stay at Black Cloud's town? That's great. Hee, Lin Li laughed, and did not say much. He saw Alexer's dismay very clearly when he said that he hoped to settle down in Black Cloud's town. Oh, yes. Magic Shooter Felix, I heard that you are from the Alana Guild of Magic. What a coincidence, I went there a few years ago. I had the honor to meet a few noble archmages. May I know which archmage was your mentor? My mentor is Anduin, but he is not an archmage. He is just a random old man who loves to run around. Anduin? Alana repeated the unfamiliar name. He was certain that he had never heard that there was an archmage named Anduin in Alana. When he looked at Lin Li again, his gaze had less respect now. It seems that he is just a random mage with no background. In reality, Alexer was still disappointed with that fact. He thought that this young man who could defeat over 10 robbers would be under a well-known archmage. Now that he knew that he was just an apprentice of a homeless mage, he felt that it was not worthy to risk anything for him, despite his great abilities. What matters do you have in Black Cloud's town? Alexer asked Lin Li directly. Since Lin Li had not much of a background, Alexer dispensed with formalities. Just a small matter. To think of it now, I realize I haven't gotten the chance to thank you. Mage Felix, you are a big savior to Black Cloud's town. If you hadn't been around, we would have faced great damage last night. Mage Felix, if you face any troubles here, please don't mind telling me. I would be able to render some help to you, Alexer said ingratiatingly. Then, he tried to squeeze out a worried expression. However, I'm not sure if I should tell you this, Mage Felix. What is it? Alexer frowned, and hesitated dramatically before he continued. Mage Felix, after you finish what you wanted to do, please leave Black Cloud's town quickly. Lin Li frowned, and asked, so Mayor Alexer doesn't really welcome me here? And no. That's not it. I didn't mean that. Then what did you mean, Mayor Alexer? Mage Felix, it is not that the Black Cloud's town doesn't welcome you. It's actually for your own good. Do you know that the man you've killed last night was an important man in the Sire Bandits? They would not let you go easily. Although you are very powerful, if the people in Sire Bandits were to return to get revenge on you, you might. Important person? Lin Li could not help but interrupt Alexer with his laughter. Now he knew why the man would visit him. What important figure was he talking about? Did Alexis think he was a fool? Just that Marco, a level 10 guy? How could he be somebody of importance? If that was so, the revenge by the Sire bandits would be nothing to be fearful of. Mage Felix, since you're from Alana, you might not know how powerful the Sire bandits are. They are ranked in the top 10 of the bandit organizations in the Breezy Plains. They have thousands of core members, and this is not including the external members scattered in different corners of the Breezy Plains. After that, it was just that fence-sitter talking to himself. He described the Sire bandits as though they were as scary as floods and monsters. It was as though it was not a criminal organization, but a bunch of legendary heroes. Lin Li knew that all the effort Alexer had put into his stories was just an attempt to convince himself not to appear in the Breezy Plains ever again. Or else, if the Sire bandits really wanted to take revenge, the first person who was going to get into trouble would be Alexer himself. How would Lin Li care about such a mild scare? Not to mention that he was not scared of the Sire bandits at all, he could not leave the Breezy Plains either. It was the Supreme Council's order for him to build his new guild in the Breezy Plains. Now, everything was set in stone. If Lin Li were to leave at this time, wouldn't it be a slap on the Supreme Council's face? At that time, let alone Sire bandits, even Sire Kingdom would be turned into flat ground by that bunch of old freaks in the Supreme Council. Of course, he could not tell Alexer those things now. Hence, Lin Li could only give him a vague response to dismiss him. He said, "All right, Mayor Alexer. I will consider your suggestion." "Please make up your mind fast," Alexer replied. Although he was not a man of honor, he was not a fool either. He knew that the young man was not going to be terrified by his words alone. Hence, he did not try to convince him further, but bid him goodbye to leave that claustrophobic house. Yet, before he left, he did not forget to reiterate the part about the prowess of the Sire bandits. Oh, yes. Mage Felix, you might not have heard this, but the Sire bandits had just kidnapped the son of the Castellan of Roland City. All right. I will be careful, Mayor Alexer." After sending this timid man off, Lin Li wanted to address old Salet and the others. However, he suddenly felt that the name Roland City sounded rather familiar. Doubt flashed across his mind, but he did not take the matter to heart. Yet, after old Salet and the others took their leave, the issue with Roland City reappeared in his mind. Where did he hear this name? This question had disturbed Lin Li for a good 2 days. On the morning of the 3rd day, Lin Li finally got the answer from Kaman, who had come to visit him. Roland City? That's a nice place. It is the wealthiest city in the Breezy Plains. I've heard that the income that city earns from taxes in just a year is equivalent to Dulan's 5 years of taxes. Oh, Mage Felix, why are you asking this all of a sudden? Oh, so it is that Roland City. Before coming to the Breezy Plains, Lin Li had gathered some data regarding Roland City. It was said that this city in the center of the Breezy Plains was also known as the Granary of the Breezy Plains. It was a place of beauty and wealth, and had a great agricultural system. Every year, Roland City would be able to provide crops for the whole of Felon Kingdom. Oh, yes. Come on, have you heard that the son of Roland City's Castellan got kidnapped? Of course. Haha, that was the biggest news in Breezy Plains thus far. Why, is Mage Felix interested in the reward as well? Huh? What reward? The Castellan of Roland City had already announced the news. He promised to grant any request of the person who could save his son. Any request would be possible to meet as long as he could fulfill it. TSK. He is the wealthiest man of the Breezy Plains. His riches are comparable to those of the Glitter Gold Trade Union. Anyone who has the ability to save his son will not have financial trouble for the rest of his life. While Kaman was totally engrossed in his speech, Lin Li was becoming impatient. He kept thinking about the reward the Castellan had promised, and how he should make good use of this man. I feel that the reward was prepared for you, Mage Felix. With the ability of you and your servant, I'm sure it wouldn't take much for you to rescue his son from the sire bandits. Why don't you help him out? I will consider doing that. Huh? It was Kamon's turn to gasp. His suggestion to Lin Li that he should go and rescue the castellan's son was just flattery. He did not expect Lin Li to even consider that. The sire bandits had thousands of members, and were ranked among the top 10 bandit groups of felon. To even think of rescuing the hostage alive would be a great challenge. Hee hee. Boss, come on, don't be so anxious. I was just joking. Lin Li had no interest to continue discussing the matter after he knew the answer to his question. He laughed and brought the topic to an end. Oh, yes. Why are you here? You visit me? Yes, Mage Felix, Kamon kept his ingratiating smile, and squeezed out a very serious expression. There is something that happened in Duland. I'm here to ask for your opinion. Tell me about it. Do you still remember that Master Lazarick? Yeah, I do. Not long after you left, Master Lazarick brought his people over again. Hee hee, it was rather embarrassing too. I was so afraid that they were there to create trouble. After I asked them, I realized they were not there to create any trouble, but to buy back the machete according to its original price. They bought it back? Lin Li did not know whether he should laugh or cry. Was there something wrong with Lazarick? So, he bought a magic weapon at the guru level, but accused the seller of selling him a counterfeit. Not to mention that he returned to crash that shop, he even demanded to sell it back at twice the price he paid. Now, in the blink of an eye, he regretted it, and bought the thing back. Lin Li really wanted to ask who was this Lazarick, to be exact, if he had mixed up his gender. Or else, why did he buy magical weapons the way women bought their clothes? What type of dilemma was that? Furthermore, Kamon hesitated but still continued his story with a weird expression. Just this morning, Kamon went back to the shop, and inquired really politely if I could sell him more such weapons. How many did he want? Lin Li asked. He did not have any qualms about Lazarick wanting to buy some more weapons. Since he still had quite a lot of magical metals that Kamon gave him the other time, Lin Li would definitely not reject someone who wanted to give him money. Of course, the price of the magical weapons would not be as low as before. Since Lazarick's father was the castellan of Duland, it would be a waste if he did not ask more from him. Oh, yes. Mage Felix, Master Lazarick also told me to arrange a meet-up with the blacksmith of that machete. Leave that for another time. Lin Li hesitated. He did not want to promise Kamon that. As for the explanation why he did not readily agree to that request, it was actually very business-minded. The common saying was that the reason why people did not betray others was not due to his loyalty, but because they did not have the ability to. Since he was just the son of a castellan, Lazarick did not have the power to force a smithing guru to reveal his identity. Lin Li actually wanted to visit Duland that afternoon. He was indeed interested in the reward promised by the castellan of the Roland city. Of course, his eyes were not on the monetary benefits. Instead, he was interested in the granary of the breezy plains. Who made him meet that, my father said, dude who demanded 1,000,000 gold coins worth of grains? The castellan of Roland City should be the only person in the breezy plains who had the ability to grant this request. In order to rescue the man from the sire bandits, the most important thing was to know more about that organization. Hence, it would be the easiest if Lin Li got such information from the Adventurers Guild. After eating lunch, Lin Li and Norfeller walked to the entrance of the town. When they wanted to board a coach, they suddenly met somebody whom Lin Li really did not want to see. Master Felix, I have something to discuss with you. It was the master of inscription, Moke. Speaking of this Moke, he was not quite the ordinary man. Herza had once mentioned that he was an affable man who was more powerful than Aldwin in terms of handling inscriptions, and was well respected by the people in the Supreme Council. He had helped to establish Manhwa at least 20 out of the 24 magic guilds across Felon. However, Lin Li did not know why this man showed him so much attitude ever since they met. It was as though their 8 characters clashed with each other. Thus, it was really polite of him to address him as Mage Felix today. If it was the usual days, he would address Lin Li with "Hey, the who?" "Good afternoon, Master Moke." Moke nodded, and replied Lin Li with a "Yeah, your head." Lin Li rebuked Moke inside his heart. When he looked at Moke again, he was less friendly. "Master Moke has something to discuss with me?" "Yeah, I'm here to notify you that the main body of the tower has been completed. I will start to establish mages there during these 2 days. If you have any special requests, please tell me now. Look, Master Moke. If you have extra time, please help me to establish 10 wards of bad luck within the tower." "Wards of bad luck?" Moke asked in surprise. Actually, before he went to Lin Li, he had decided to put up some low-grade mages for Lin Li, as the Supreme Council did not specify the grade of the mages he had to use. Since Lin Li did not look like a man who would have much knowledge about inscription, he would not be able to notice that the mages had low quality. However, Moke did not expect that the fellow would be so dumb. Ward of Bad Luck was the simplest entry-level mage. Not to mention this master of inscription, even his weakest students would be able to create quite many of those. Moke did not know whether he should laugh or cry at Lin Li's request. How could somebody instruct a master of inscription to put up 10 wards of bad luck? But forget it, that's good as well. 10 wards of bad luck were requested by the man himself. If Herza were to question him about it, he could explain that it was according to the order of Lin Li himself. It was not his inefficiency. "Alright, 10 wards of bad luck," Moke nodded, and went off with a weird expression. "Damn it, when did I even offend him?" Lin Li muttered to himself after Moke left. This Moke was really an unusual man. Since they had never met each other before, it was only normal for him to treat Lin Li politely. Why did he keep targeting him on purpose? That was really absurd. Let us review what this dude had done. Apart from his usual unfriendly attitude, he even dug a hole for Lin Li today. *CK, since he was a master of inscription, how would he agree to construct wards of bad luck when Lin Li casually asked him to do so? A fool would have known that mages were the most crucial component in the defense mechanism of a mage tower. If it were to depend solely on 10 entry-level mages, a swarm of mosquitoes would have destroyed the entire tower. Luckily, I still have something to back it up, Lin Li muttered, and pursed his lips after seeing Moke's back view disappear from his vision. For ordinary people, a ward of bad luck was indeed the most basic of mages. However, Lin Li knew that if one knew how to do it, it would bring about unimaginable effects. Of course, knowing was knowing. Lin Li did not have the mood to remind Moke about that. After sending Moke off, Lin Li went to the station to rent a coach. Then, he headed to Duland with Norfeller. Upon entering Duland, the duo got down on their feet and reached the entrance of the Adventurers Guild very quickly. The ground of the breezy plains was not that flat after all. There was a lot of adventurers in the tiny Duland city, exceeding the numbers in Felon and Alana. As the two men went up the steps, they saw a bustling scene. Thousands of adventurers were gathered at the guild hall. It took Lin Li and Norfeller much effort to walk through the crowd. The Adventurers Guild was always a place where people of different backgrounds gathered, especially in a place like Duland that lacked order. There were people of different age and gender, apprentices below level 5 and powerful people above level 15. And pickpockets, of course. The hustle and bustle in the guild hall made it seem like a busy wet market. Lin Li walked into the guild hall and felt something moving in his pocket. Before he managed to turn his head, Norfeller had already stepped in. "Let go of your hand." A frantic voice could be heard. Lin Li turned to look, and he saw a short and thin youth struggling with Norfeller. However, how could the strength of a human be comparable to that of a vampire? His hand was as though caught in a metal pincer. There was a coin pouch hanging on that index finger. It was dangling due to all the struggling. Lin Li turned back, and naturally realized what had happened. Duland was indeed Duland. It had the most pickpockets. Being one who had never encountered any pickpockets in Gerosis and Alana, Lin Li actually broke the streak by being in Duland for a few days. What do you want? Let me tell you, why you are on the territory of our Mafia Brotherhood. If you dare to offend any of us, you are going to get it. The short and thin youth tried to use the name of his organization to threaten the two men who looked like danger. Mafia Brotherhood? Lin Li repeated after him. This name sounded rather familiar. Oh, yes. Wasn't this the undesirable organization that old Salat's son, Garso, joined? So, it was just a bunch of pickpockets? No wonder he saw a dangling hook peeking out of Garso's pocket that night. It seemed that he had a special occupation in Duland. Damn, I have to warn old Salat to teach his son now. How can being a pickpocket have a brighter future than committing murder, arson, rape, and robbing? Mafia Brotherhood, right? Lin Li looked at the short and thin youth a while before instructing his high-ranking vampire. Norfeller, let him go first. Yes, master. After that steel-like pincer let go of his hand, the short and lean youth took some time to rub his bruised hand. So you know what's better for you. Shut up, moron. Lin Li snapped angrily. I always despise pickpockets. If I didn't have something for you to help me out with, I would have gotten rid of you. What are you joking about? The short and lean youth took a step back in fear. Just when he wanted to flee, he felt a burning sensation at his feet. When he looked down, he nearly had a heart attack. He saw that his feet suddenly caught fire. What the hell is this? Help, the short and thin youth winced in pain. The two balls of fire stuck to his feet. Regardless of how he struggled, he could not shake them off. Don't be so nervous. It is just a small trick. Seeing that it was enough, Lin Li waved his hand to disperse the spell. But, if you don't want to listen to us, this little trick can take your little life too. Why you? What do you want? I don't have anything I want to do, I just have an errand I hope you can help me with, Lin Li said as he brought Norfeller towards the exit of the guild hall. Before stepping out, he looked back, and said, if you don't want to be burned alive, you'd better follow us out now. Oh my god, the short and thin youth shivered as he imagined himself being burnt alive. Then, he followed them outside in trepidation. After the three people reached an isolated area, Lin Li stopped in his tracks, and turned to look at the youth. Introduce yourself, he said, and gave the youth a smile that sent jitters down his spine. I'm Duke. Very good, Duke. Are you interested in earning some money? Huh? What, I believe there should only be a yes or a no, isn't it? I'm not a monster. Why are you looking at me like that? Do you think I will eat you up? Duke swallowed his saliva and cursed in his mind. How should I know if you are a monster? What's your answer? The short youth hesitated. Yes, he replied meekly. I have some errands that I need help with. If you help me do it, I can give you 5,000 gold coins as a reward. Did you say 5,000 gold coins? That shocking number nearly gave Duke a heart attack. When he held Lin Li's heavy wallet just now, he knew that Lin Li had to be a rich man. But, no matter how imaginative Duke was, he would not have expected him to offer such a high monetary reward. Did he get all his wealth from the wind? Yeah, 5,000 gold coins. Are you interested? Why yes. I am, Duke replied and nodded profusely. At this moment, Duke really wanted to have two heads to better show his sincerity to deal with Lin Li. It was as though those 5,000 gold coins would grow wings and fly away from him if he was a little less sincere. I believe you have heard about the Sire Bandits. I want a stack of detailed information on them, their strength in numbers, physical abilities, favorite hideout, name of their boss, their past, the color of undergarment they like to wear, etc. The more detailed, the better it is. If your report is satisfactory, I don't mind increasing the reward to 10,000 gold coins. My gosh, Duke became breathless upon hearing the shocking number. But, after Lin Li threw out the temptation, his words got a sharper twist. But, if you were to ruin this matter, I promise I would ensure you enjoy the rest of your life. Oh, yes. Before I forget, I had planted something on your body. Not to worry, it would not cost you your life. It would only enable me to find you more easily. If I want to, I would be able to chase you down regardless of how far you try to hide yourself. Understand that? Yes, very good, Lin Li said as he smiled. He retrieved the coin pouch from Norfeller and fiddled with it in his hands before he threw it to Duke. The money inside is my deposit. After doing that report, go to that shop to look for me, Lin Li said, and pointed to the shop opposite them. Remember, you only have 3 days. Lin Li spent the next 2 days in Kamant's trading shop. Since the mage tower in the Black Clouds town was still under construction, there was nothing he could help with if he were to return at this time. Hence, he decided to stay at Dulan City to save himself some trouble. Another reason for staying here was to make use of Kamant's smithy. Having money was admittedly great, but as compared to Old Salet's blacksmith shop, Kamant's smithy was much more powerful. It had all kinds of facilities and rare tools. In Kamant's words, with the relevant skills, one could create divine-level equipment right in his smithy. Of course, Lin Li was not there to create any such equipment. He only took out the leftover magical metals and tried to forge a magical weapon that was barely at the master level. Since Lazaric could not even recognize weapons made from the rainbow adamantine, it would be a waste to give him better equipment. On the 3rd day, Lin Li handed the 3 magical weapons he had forged to Kamant. While he was eating breakfast and wondering if Duke would leave him in the lurch, a worker in the trading shop ran towards him. Mage Felix, there's a bandit outside by the name of Duke, claiming that he is your friend. Do you want to meet him? Yes, let him in. Not long after, the worker brought Duke over. Good morning, Mage Felix. Morning, Duke. How is the errand going? It is almost done. Mage Felix, do you want to hear it now? Sure. The Sire Bandits was set up by militiamen of Sire Town. Their leader is Vanscore, the formal leader of the militia. 20 years ago, the Sire Town suffered a plague. It's said that around half of the population was wiped out by it. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.